I know you've spoken about it. I love the episode that you did together.
You like that one?
You watched that one, did you? We didn't think anyone would.
Listened. Yeah,
We found it a bit awkward.
but you spoke about imposter syndrome, and I think that's probably the biggest pressure for me of running a business, is because what Keep It Cleaner, like as I spoke about before, we never started it with the intention for it to turn into what it has. And you know, it hasn't been a blink of the eye. It's been a lot of hard work, but all of a sudden Steph and I are running this business, and we've got staff, and there's so many people that rely on us, and that's amazing. We're so grateful for that. But at the same time, you kind of have those days where you're like, oh my goodness, like I'm not a good leader. Like, why am I in this position? Like, why have I been given this amazing opportunity? And so I think that's been the biggest, the biggest thing I struggle with, I suppose, is just the whole concept of imposter syndrome, and being confident in the fact that I've got to this position and that I'm worthy of getting here, and all of those things. But I think I've listened to a lot of TED Talks of very, very powerful people that I see as so successful, and they go through imposter syndrome as well. So it's very, very common, and it's okay. But I think that's the biggest thing that I've had to come to terms with in running a business.
You said you're a bit of a dreamer earlier. You said you've thought big about all these different things. Obviously, you've become a rock star and you didn't know how to play guitar. Is creativity big for you? Can you turn the switch on and off? Do you have to have like how do you get into your zone, start thinking and dreaming big? Do you set yourself a time aside? Do you have a process, or you just comes to you whenever?
Yeah, I wake up 4:30 every morning. I walk straight outside, and I do like some breathing exercises, super mellow. I drink like a liter of water, and then I'll come indoors, normally make my wife a coffee because she goes to work. Then I'll meditate for 30 minutes, guided meditation. I think I'm up to like 52 hours or something for the year. So I do that in the morning. Then I stretch. And like, I mean, if you really want to know, I mean, I have it down to per 45 minutes of how I spend my day. And, you know, I then read from there. My daughter, then I get breakfast prepped, a little bit of housework done, get my daughter's breakfast ready. I take her off to school, and then I come home, and then that's really where it starts to happen. And I never know what it's going to lead to, but I just sort of like, you know, I got pads everywhere, which I'm writing and scribbling on and flicking every page, a million browsers open. And yeah, I just sort of free flow it, you know. But the main thing is that like I set aside my time and I rock up every day. I follow what I call my own principle. I know it might be a bit silly, but I call it the dad's principle now that I'm a dad. And it's what I think keeps me focused. And it's like determination, ambition, discipline, and then the last one is service. So I've got, say, being determined and ambitious is very easy. You know, that's actually very easy. It's the discipline that comes after it. And then most importantly, service. What I mean by that is I truly believe in doing something that's not for you. So I play music, trust me, like obviously it's fun as hell. Obviously I love that side of it. But I believe that music saves lives. Not ours, or not just ours. I mean, you know, kids do tell you that, but music saved my life, right? So to me, that's the most important thing in the world. It's kind of like if a paramedic saved me when I was a kid, I'd probably be a paramedic, right? But going to concerts and listening to music at home in my room, that's what saved me. That's why I'm not a, you know, drug addict like a lot of people that went to school with. That's why I'm not, you know, I don't hate my family, you know, because of I'm living in service. So I rock up, I be present, I be disciplined, and then I live in service for any other kid that's life might be potentially saved by music.
I'm stealing Rob's question here because I know he wanted to touch on it, was the Mamba mentality. And
yeah,
you mentioned did you do a Mamba month?
Yeah, we did one just in honor of Kobe Bryant. You know, I'm a massive basketball fan, and obviously Kobe, with everything that went on, we decided just to nominate a month to be like Mamba mentality. So we basically just touch on the 1%ers because we're already doing enough. And, you know, in that article, I think I compared both weeks, you know, Mamba mentality week and another week. And it's like small differences, but over a month time, it's supposed to kind of add up. And that was the whole Kobe's idea. Over a month, over a year, or over 5 years, it kind of adds up. So that's when we started KS parties in the mornings on a Tuesday, and then the PM would do our session. Usually in the morning on a Tuesday, we'd be at a coffee shop having a few coffees, and then we just swap that a little bit. Go to KX, then head over for coffee. And same as Thursday, we doubled that. So we just started having double days, and it's worked for us. Me and my training partner, 1 and 2 in Australia in the 800, undefeated this year. So we were killing it, and so we just kept going.
That's sick.
Tough. That's tough.
It's a good statement. I like that. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Like, why is, like, everyone knows who Kobe? It's so sad when the tragic accident happened with Kobe Bryant earlier this year. But Mamba mentality. He had a book out. But for those who are listening who don't quite know what the Mamba mentality is, why did it resonate so much with you?
One, I'm a huge basketball fan. I played basketball almost longer than I ran. So I only started running when I was 17, and before that, I actually went to school on a basketball scholarship. And Kobe was my favorite player, and so that's why. And then 2, I just loved Kobe's work ethic. He was just excellent. He'd work, and the way he spoke, and then he just backed it up. People speak, but then there's people that back it up, and Kobe backed it up.
The leader has to be the role model. So that's what you're looking at. You're looking at the young player that turns up on time to training, gets there early, finishes later, pushes other people, runs through the line, trains really hard every time. That's the first thing you're looking for, is the young player that's the role model, 100%. And then after that, if you want to go a number of other areas, you want your leaders to build good relationships. You want your leaders to understand different personalities in the group, that they just can't treat everyone exactly the same. So there's a lot of other traits that are going to go into being a really, really good captain. And you guys touched on it before we started. Empathy's huge now, vulnerability's huge now, psychological safety's huge now. So all those areas, really, you need a leader to encompass all those areas around what makes a great leader.
Did those things come naturally for you, or are that those skills that you personally had to develop over time? And how do you see that playing out in the field of the AFL at the moment?
I was incredibly lucky, and at the time I didn't realise it, but I was incredibly lucky that I went to a footy club at Fitzroy when I was 17. And as I said, I had no idea at the time. But when I look back on it now, all my behaviours were learned behaviours. And it's when I looked at Gary Wilson and Bernie Quinlan and Laurie Serafini and Mickey Conlon and those guys, they trained hard. And they were good people, and they directed me on the field. They directed me off the field. So I was really fortunate to understand, through their actions, what it was to be a good footballer and a good role model, et cetera, et cetera. And the power of culture and what culture is, because people still don't really understand what culture is. It's not just putting stuff on the, up on the office and writing it down. It's what happens on a day-to-day basis. What are the habits and behaviours that happen daily? So was it natural to me? I had 17 years of being in a good footy environment at Fitzroy, went through some really tough times where I had to be the leader and I was captain, and I had to be vulnerable, and I had to help players that weren't getting paid or whatever. Then I went to Sydney as a senior player and worked with Paul Kelly, who was a great on-field leader, and saw the way Tony Lockett played. And, so I think the experiences over the years, but there's no doubt the initial experience of going to Fitzroy was a huge advantage from a leadership point of view, because I had great role models, and they were great leaders and great role models.